Here we go, party people. Check it out. Where my Killa tape at? Season 2, episode 8. Moving right along. So definitely we're going to talk about the Netflix movie Roxanne. We have the usual segments on atheism, how to approach women, and also health. We're going to big up the folks of Puerto Rico strong. Also talk about my relationship advices, doo-doo, and 35th anniversary of Wild Style. So, and we also talk about why men should do the emotional labor. So check it out. Where my Killa tape at? Word.
I like the rhymes.
All of us are born with the miraculous ability to determine the direction from which sounds approach us.
Let us venture into new and uncharted land.
People get shook up, when I'm introduced as God.
You got that good hair, too.
You're the first one out there with a dashiki talking that crap.
It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
I pull up, hop out, air out, made it look sexy. They won't take me out my element. Nah, take me out my element.
This week's episode is powered by a sleeper. Like, I love Samuel Smith stouts and ales, man. Like, they make some really dope stuff. It's inexpensive and it's organic too. That's probably the best part. I don't get into that organic stuff. Anyway, for this week, I have a Samuel Smith double chocolate stout. Man, it's so good. Man, it is so good. You just need to drink one bottle, just FYI. But man, it is so good. And I don't know why I haven't reviewed one for the show or whatever. But yo, shout out to Samuel Smith, man. Word. Yo, shout out to the people of Puerto Rico, though. And real quick, on some geek shit to support the people of Puerto Rico, the folks at Lion Forge Comics, shout out to Joseph Illich. They actually have a comic book called Puerto Rico Strong, and it actually support the people from that wonderful, wonderful island. So if you really want to support them and you want to get something in return, which ain't nothing wrong with that, definitely check out Lion Forge Comics. You can go to their website and you can pick up Puerto Rico Strong. Also, ask your local comic book vendor to order that and put it on their shelves too, man. Word is born.
It's all a game. It's all a game.
The book I'm reading this month is The Art of Battle, Understanding Judge B-Boy Battles by the mighty Alien Ness of MZK. If you don't know who Alien Ness is and you're into hip-hop, like if you say, oh, I'm a hip-hop head, and you don't know who Alien Ness is, then you're not a hip-hop head, right? He is a member of the oldest breakdancing crew on the planet, originally known as Zulu Kings. Now they became Mighty Zulu Kings. Now they're known as MZK. So if you don't know who they are, if you don't know who Alien Ness is, then you need to go ahead and Google that shit. Anyway, I've been meaning to read this book for a while. It's hard to get. And I actually had it for a while. I had it for a couple years, but I loaned it out to like two of my mentees. One of them who's a B-boy meaning breakdancer. And the thing about battling is that it's one thing I've learned. What separates a B-boy or a B-girl from any other dancer on the planet is battling. And what's amazing about B-boy and the B-girl and breakdancing, whatever you want to call it, is that it's probably the most evolved dance form on the planet, period. I will debate anybody on this. I'll fight you in the street. Why? It's because of battling. And if you look at how people b-boyed, like even 5 years ago, is different from how they b-boy now. If you go back 20 years ago, it's super different than how they do now. Why? Again, because of battling. Because when you go battle, right, and you lose or you win, there's going to be other people coming for you, coming for your neck. And you got to actually evolve your shit. You have to adapt. And if you don't, you're going to lose. Pretty much plain and simple, right? And you can tell, actually, like if you've been in it for a while. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Alien Ness actually gives you the science and the breakdown behind battling, like how you do, the strategy to win, what you need to do physically, how to create a series of movements, a run. We call them runs, all that stuff. How, everything you need to know. I think it's a dope book. It's a small book. It's worth $35, but I highly recommend it if you're a B-boy or B-girl. But I also recommend it if you're a regular dancer, because one thing I noticed, another thing I noticed the difference between like a regular dancer and a B-boy is that, and a B-girl is that a regular dancer usually will like do choreographed moves, right? That they learn in class or whatever. Whereas a B-boy or B-girl would just do whatever. They just get in. It's called improvisation, right? And I think that's another thing that separates a B-boy and a B-girl from any other dancer on the planet, right? That they could improvise at the drop of a dime. And he tells you how to improvise in there, all those things that you need to win a battle. So I think, again, if you're a B-boy or B-girl, highly recommend it. If you are a hip-hop historian, highly recommend it. If you're a dancer, I recommend it. I really do. I think it's something that you might need in your repertoire. So hope that helps out. Word.
Medina Green, DCQ, Law I2, Medina.
Yo, hip hop wise, 2018 started off hard. Fonte dropped the joint out of nowhere. No news is good news. Man, yo, he killing it. Again, it's continuing his vein of discussing, like, he's a grown ass man. He don't do all that wild stuff. He's just chilling. And the production is just dope. So, yo, that's hot. And then Nipsey Hussle really represented the left coast with his victory lap. And that's really, really cool. Prime 2 by Premier, DJ Premier, and Royce the 5'9". I'm not going to front. It's first listen, I was kind of like, I skipped the intro because I really like getting tired of skits and interludes and stuff like that. So I usually skip that stuff. But I went back to the intro, and then it kind of makes sense. But the production is dope as usual, and what Premier is doing, he did it on the first album, which he took like production style from what's my man's name? Oh, that Left Coast kid. I forgot his name. He's really dope, man. He does a lot of dope stuff. Adrian Strange, yeah, he took Adrian Strange. Yo, that dude is dope, yo. That stuff he did with Hieroglyphics, and that stuff he did with Ghosts, that stuff is dope. Anyway, he took his style and he like put a primo thing in it, and that's how he got the first album, which was dope. The second album, he took this other cat I ain't never heard of before, and I can't remember his name. I feel really bad about that. He took that style. And don't get me wrong, Royce really flipped his rhyme patterns this time. It took a little getting used to. It's a little bit different from what he does, but I like it with the production. I feel like the features could have been better, though. Like, I'm not a fan of Yellow Wolf. I don't know why cats be liking him, but other than that, just 2018, we here in March, and just like 3 dope albums. And I slept on Nipsey Hussle, though. Like, my man been telling me for a long time that you need to check out Nipsey Hussle. And I'm like, all right. And I checked it out, and it's really hard. So thank you for that. Shout out to my man right there. But, yeah, check out those albums, man. Fonte's dope, too. And to be honest, they all like 3 different flavors. They're not like the same. They're just 3 different flavors. So you might not like one. You might like the other 2. You might just like one out of those 3. But, yo, check it out. So 2018 is really off to a fresh start hip-hop wise. And I like this, man. I like how y'all just dropping albums and not saying nothing, man. Like, yo, that's dope, yo. As of this recording on March 18th, 2018, we realized that 35 years ago, Wild Style was released in theaters. For those of you that don't know, Wild Style is actually, technically on paper, the only hip-hop movie ever produced and put together that wasn't a documentary. Plain and simple. I will fight anybody over that. This is why I say that, because I don't consider B Street like a hip-hop movie, because here's why. Because the stars of that movie, even though I'm not going to deny B Street's influence, they were not actually members of the hip-hop community, right? So all the actors and actresses were not B-boys, MCs, DJs, graph writers. Whereas in Wild Style, you actually had, B-boys, MCs, DJs, and writers acting as themselves, right? So you had the main character played by Lee Quinones, who's actually a graph writer. His stuntman was actually Dondi. Rest in peace to Dondi White. So like he actually was the stunt double in this one scene because Lee didn't want to go into this one particular train yard for reasons unknown, right? Hopefully he'll be able to tell us that. He has Zafir in there, another graph writer. you had Lady Pink, and actually that was like her only appearance after that was a documentary that came out like 20 years later, but she like stopped making appearances in movies. But Lady Pink is in it. Fab Five Freddy, who was a graph writer who later on became the host of TV Raps, right? Who else you had in there? You had Rocksteady Crew, Crazy Legs, and all of them. Buck 4, Cowboy, all of them was in it. Frosty Freeze, rest in peace, Frosty Freeze, he's in there. Rest in peace, Buck 4, he's in it. Who else is in it? Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. Cowboy, rest in peace, Cowboy, he was in it. Fantastic Five is in it. You know what I'm saying? Grandmaster Kaz is in it. And his crew. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Busy Bee is in it. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on about who was in it. They even had Blondie in it. You know what I mean? So like, it's a classic joint directed by Charlie Ahern. And man, that's dope, yo. Like, I recommend watching it. To me, personally, it stands the test of time. Mind you, none of them dudes can act, which explains why in Beat Street they went ahead and got actors and actresses, even though the dialogue was still corny. It still stands the test of time. The break beats, if you can get a hold of the breakbeat album for Wild Style, I highly recommend it. But it's a dope one. Like I said, I'll debate anybody on that. It doesn't have as big of an influence as Beat Street because Beat Street had, a big distribution deal. They had a lot bigger budget. Wild Style, you could tell, was a shoestring budget, and it was just made, on just a low budget. So it didn't have as much distribution as it was. It had like a cult following. So 35 years, man, word is born. I'm not gonna lie, man. When I saw the advertisements for Old Man Hawkeye, I was like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing, Marvel? But anyway, I picked it up because somebody recommended it, and I'm impressed. They're already getting ready to put out issue number 4. I'm late, but it's dope. And if the writer is Ethan Sachs, who I'm completely unfamiliar with, I've never read any stuff. The artist, Marco Cicchetto, he's pretty dope. He's actually like, I've seen his work before. He's done a lot of stuff for Marvel. He's pretty dope. and I think he did like some Star Wars stuff. I'm not sure, but he's dope. Anyway, if you remember that in Old Man Logan, Hawkeye is a main character in it. Yeah, not the movie, the comic book. And he's actually blind when he meets Logan. So they never really explain how that happened. And we know that the villains allowed him to survive because they felt like he wasn't somebody that needed to be checking for. They felt like he wasn't formidable enough compared to, like, say, Captain America or Iron Man or Professor Xavier or whatever. But anyway, and we got to remember, too, that technically the timeline and the universe that Old Man Logan is from is destroyed. Dr. Doom did bring it into Secret Wars 2015, but then it was eventually destroyed and Old Man Logan came into Marvel 616. So technically it's not around. So Old Man Hawkeye is like a prequel to Old Man Logan, and it explains how he loses his eyesight. So I highly recommend it. It's really dope. I slept on it. I was like, oh, come on, guys. But they're talking about Hawkeye before he gets into the story with Logan. They show, Old Man Logan in it a couple of times because we do know that Hawkeye is trying to recreate the Avengers to overthrow the villains. For those of you that are not familiar, and actually this story takes place 5 years before the event of the original Old Man Logan. But for those of you that are not familiar, in the Old Man Logan timeline, the villains rose up and killed all the superheroes. So the villains kind of like run the world. So just to give you a heads up. But yeah, I recommend it. Work. I know I'll probably talk about this topic a lot, but gentlemen, we need to do the emotional work in a relationship, an intimate relationship with our kids, with our parents, with our families, with our brothers, man. We really do need to do the emotional work, the emotional labor, and we just continue to refuse to do it. We just I don't know, and I know it's the patriarchy. I get it, but we got to get out of this idea that being in touch with our emotions is weak, right? Because we always say that it's a feminine thing to do and it's weak. So we end up doing is we end up raising these robotic dudes that have no emotion. And then when it's time for them to deal with the emotions, they act like a bunch of Terminators, right? A bunch of Terminators. So like, we need to like fix that. We got to do the emotional work, man. I know I keep saying that. I wrote a couple of pieces on it. It's on medium.com. I'll put it in the show notes so you can look at it. I'm not trying to self-promote. I just really think we should have this conversation about emotional labor and you know, like, and I think I had an opportunity to work with middle school kids, and like I noticed that, you know, so grades 5 through 8. So I noticed that like at 5th grade, a lot of our boys have no problems dealing with their emotions, but then somebody, usually another man, puts into their heads that they shouldn't do that, that it's actually quote unquote gay. And we're going to talk about that some other time, why you shouldn't use gay as an adjective to mean something bad. And so anyway, by the time they get to the 8th grade, they're not trying to hear none of that shit. So what happens? Because, you know, it seems like they're on the right track, and then we kind of like veer them off. And it's men that's doing it. It really is men. I've seen women do it too, but it's mostly men, because I hear a lot of them say, my dad said. And I've had a lot of dads come to me and say, what's the emotional shit you're doing in that class? You know, it's frustrating, and we need to fix that. And I know what I'm saying is anecdotal, but you shouldn't be in a relationship looking for a woman to fix you. You should already be there, right? And I always say this to people about your emotions. What makes us human, right, is our emotions and our ability to deal with it and process it and all that stuff and express ourselves. When we cut ourselves off from that, we are not humans. That's why I say we're robots. And we shouldn't be robots, because it's harmful to ourselves and our families and our community. So we definitely need to fix it. I know I joke around a lot in this podcast, but I'm dead ass serious about this. So we're going to talk about it some more. Word is bomb. Yo, shout out to the people of Puerto Rico, though. And real quick, on some geek shit, to support the people of Puerto Rico, the folks at Line Forge Comics, shout out to Joseph Illich. They actually have a comic book called Puerto Rico Strong, and it actually support the people from that wonderful, wonderful island. So if you really want to support them and you want to get something in return, which ain't nothing wrong with that, definitely check out Line Forge Comics. You can go to their website and you can pick up Puerto Rico Strong. Also, ask your local comic book vendor to order that and put it on their shelves too, man. Word is born.
Lord of mercy, all night Sunday sun crew. Follow me now, mercy, all night Sunday sun crew. Follow me now, mercy, all night Sunday sun crew. Follow me now, mercy, all night Sunday sun crew. Follow me now.
So one thing a lot of people ask me when it comes to like atheism, they'll say, do you worship the devil? That's actually a question I get. I say I get that question about 40% of the time. People always say, do you worship the devil? Because they assume that, like, number one, they assume that I hate God for some reason. And I'm always like, well, I can't hate something that doesn't exist, right? Like, you can't like hate leprechauns, right? You could dislike leprechauns, right? But you can't really hate them because they don't actually exist, right? I mean, there are people that look like leprechauns. I don't mean that they're leprechauns, right? Or what we're told are leprechauns. So I know I'm jumping off on a tangent. So they assume that, you know, I'm an atheist, I hate God, so I must worship the devil. And again, I go back to that definition of atheism, which is a disbelief in the supernatural. So you don't believe in the supernatural. Like, I don't believe in angels. I don't believe in leprechauns, unicorns. You know, like, I don't do horoscopes and all that. I don't, you know, the idea, oh, the universe, you know, does this and that. I don't adhere to none of that stuff. So as much as I don't believe in God, I don't believe in the devil either. Like, the devil doesn't exist. Like, there's no, I don't know if you should call him a deity or a demon or whatever, or an angel, fallen angel. There's nothing out there that's actually tearing shit up around the planet, you know, that's making things bad for people. I don't believe in that. So, no, I don't worship the devil. You know, I don't, you know, adhere to that idea that there's demons that cause bad things, that possess people, that, you know, spread chaos and disarray everywhere they go, he or she goes, whatever you guys want to call him, you know. So it's like, I don't. So I don't know where that idea comes from. I mean, I do know where that idea comes from, because usually what happens is your preacher, your pastor, or your imam will tell you that atheists are like the worst evil people on the planet. they worship the devil and they eat babies. No, we don't eat babies either. So that's where that comes from. But I don't know how that's perpetuated because, you know, there are chances are, you know, somebody who's an atheist. I'm dead serious. Like, chances are there's somebody in your camp that doesn't believe in God. There's people sitting in your church that do not believe in God. There's actually there's some pastors who don't believe in God. And that's facts. I mean, it's crazy. You know, I work with an atheist community here, and there's a lot of them who were former preachers. That always blows my mind, that there's usually a lot of them are former preachers. And there's actually an organization, I can't remember the name of it, that they help preachers, you know, get out of that. Because what happens is some preachers become financially dependent on their congregation. So, you know, for some of them, it's not a good idea to denounce their Christianity, or their religion. So there you have it. Word.
Yeah. Yo, I think Prince should run first on this one. I think so. Yeah. Yo, I think Prince should run first on this one. I think so.
Damn, I was listening to some Grand Poobah, that first album, that Real to Real joint that came out back in the 90s. Like, what, 90? Was it 91? 92. I think it was 92. I was at the Navy then, and I just remembered how, like, he was like Busta back then. Well, Busta later on, he was like on everybody's joint. And yo, shout out to the Brand New Heavies, man. They had that joint that had all those MCs on there. That was dope, yo. Word. Just when I was about to cancel my Netflix subscription, Netflix does something really, really dope. They just released on Friday, March 23rd, the movie Roxanne, about the wonderful Roxanne Shante. It's directed by Michael Arnell, and it's actually produced by Forrest Whitaker and Mimi Valdez. Remember Mimi Valdez from Vibe Magazine and The Source and all that stuff? She also did some production work for Hidden Figures too. So shout out to Mimi Valdez for that, for coming up like that. We watched the glow up, you know what I mean? Anyway, it's really dope. We got a lot of people in that joint. You got the homie, I always mispronounce his name, dude. Like, I hate when I do that, yo. But you got the homie, Mahershala Ali. I know I said that wrong. And of course, I mean, it's a dope cast. They got a newcomer, Shantae Adams, who really, like, man, she does her thing. Also, Nelson Ellis, shout out to him. He passed away, I think it was last year, but he's in it too, man. And, man, it's crazy because, like, the stuff that I seen him in, he's mad dope. And it just sucks, yo, that he just had, like, so much potential. Like, really, like, I could have saw him, like, winning an Academy Award for some shit in, like, the next 5 years. Like, he was that dope, man. Yo, shout out to him, man. Rest in peace. But yo, Nia Long in that joint? And let me just say this. When I was a young lad, I wasn't really feeling her like that. But because back then I liked Vanessa Williams, or dark-skinned Vanessa Williams. That's who I loved when I was 19, 20. But Nia Long, yo, that auntie, yo, son, she doing her thing thizzle. But I love that they had like somebody playing Molly Mall. They had somebody playing Bismarck E. Like, I didn't even see that coming. They had somebody playing MC Shan. That was dope. And they had somebody playing Nas. They had somebody playing the young Nas, like a young preteen Nas out there. It showed, like how it was living in Queensbridge back then in the 80s. And it just really showed all the stuff that she went through. It's a really dope movie. I highly recommend it. I will admit that there's a rape scene, which I kind of fast forward to it, and there's some domestic violence in it, and there's a lot of verbal and mental abuse. So it might be triggering for some. I know for me it was, because I grew up in the projects and saw a lot of that stuff. So a lot of that stuff I kind of like had to like really fast forward. But other than that, it's a dope movie. I highly recommend it. It gives you a good discussion. I think it'll be a good thing for school. And teachers can discuss it, because she's in the school system, and it shows how the school system wasn't that great. They talk about that. And I think they deal with a lot of disparities that we rarely see in movies, right? We always talk about, drugs and gangs when we talk about these kind of stories, but There's other things they talk about, like domestic violence, school disparities, school inequities. And I think this is a really good discussion piece to have with your students and with your family members. So highly recommend it. Check it out. Like I said, Netflix hit it out the park again. I'm still looking at y'all side-eyed, man. And shout out to Roxanne Shante, man. You did your thing, man. Like she produced it as well. She was executive producer. And she did her thing, man. Like word is born. Peace. For this section of health for where my Killa tape at, I really wanted to talk about just what we all here for, right? Like, why are we on this journey for health, you know what I mean, which we all know is wealth, right? Why are we on this journey? Because a lot of times I have people that come to me and they'll say, hey, I want to look like this person and I want to look like that person, or I want to lose, 150 pounds before June. They usually give me like unrealistic goals. Now, here's my thing. And a lot of times, like when I used to have clients, I used to always have them do this. I used to have them do this assignment where I would ask them every morning, get up in the morning, or, if you can do it later on in the evening, that's fine when you come out the shower or whatever. But get in front of your mirror, just butt naked and just look at yourself and then just really admire yourself and love how you look. And the reason why I did that exercise is because I really want to promote this idea of loving the skin that you're in. Like, I think that's super duper important. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm 45. It didn't really take me until I was about 37, 38. So I really started looking at myself and saying, I love the body that I'm in. I love the skin that I'm in. So it took me that long. And we live in a culture that says that my body type is actually ideal, right? So that, and I don't adhere to that. But we really had to. So what I'm really trying to say is that ultimately we want to feel good about ourselves, right? Not just how we look, right? But also how we feel. How we feel about ourselves. I know it sounds like some new age stuff. I don't do new age stuff, but I think this is important. And I always tell people that the hardest clients are the ones that don't love themselves. Meaning, like, when they look in the mirror, they like hate how they look, right? And I think like those are the hardest ones, right? Because what ends up happening is they set goals, and when they don't reach their goals, they become super disappointed and they quit. So really, quite honestly, I asked them that you really, really, really got to love yourself. You really, really got to say, I'm comfortable with the skin that I'm in. And ultimately, what you want to do is you want to feel better. And what I mean by that is, like set goals that are like, I want to be able to run a mile and it doesn't kill me. I want to be able to run, up 20 flights of steps and I'm good and I'm not winded. Those are the kind of goals I want my peoples to look out for. Like I had a friend who, like, she's big, she does yoga, you know what I mean? And like, she's comfortable in doing yoga and she loves herself when she does yoga. Like, she doesn't really complain. And I'm sure she has those days, but when she's around everybody and, we talk, she tells me, like, hey, I love myself. I love that. And that's really what health is about, feeling good about yourself and where you at. And saying to yourself, I want a better me, so I want to move up levels. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be getting an 8-pack. It doesn't have to be about losing 150 pounds or getting that beach body, whatever the fuck that means. Because anybody's a beach body, just to let you know, right? If you go to any beach on the planet, you're going to find all kinds of bodies. So I know I'm going off on a tangent. So ultimately, ask yourself, why are you doing this? And one of the answers should be, I want to feel good about myself. I love myself. And just wanted to talk about that. And I hope this helps out anybody out there. It may not help everybody, right? But if I could reach one person, right? Oh, man, it sounds like a cliche. Word.
Yes. The name of the game is life works. Right at the slips. The name of the game is life works.
Yo, before I get into the next segment, just want to say something real quick. How to approach women is not a relationship advice segment. I don't do relationship advice, and I'm gonna explain to you why you shouldn't take relationship advice. How to approach women is literally how to approach women. I put that together because a lot of cats always ask me how to do it. I seen cats in the street, at the club, at the bar, whatever, trying to get it in, and they just shoot themselves in the foot. So I figured I'd give them some advice because I ain't never had no problems doing it. I always did my thing and got it in. So that's why I do it. I figured I'd lend my expertise. Now, going back to relationship advice. The thing about relationship advice is that it's mad arbitrary. My thing is, I really can't give anybody really can't give you or you relationship advice because they got to be in a relationship to understand. Feel me? Check it out. So let's say, for example, I'm dating a woman we're together. We've been together for a year. So we're not dating. We're together, right? And I come to you for relationship advice. I say, hey, this is what's going on, right? I feel like she doesn't understand my feelings when I talk to her. She's like, I don't think that she's getting it. And she always miscues or whatever, right? The problem with that is you're only getting one part of the story. You don't know what's actually going on. I can give you scenarios, right? But you don't know what's really going on. So you're only hearing my side of the story. Not saying that I'm lying, but I might be missing something. And you got to actually be there to see me miss whatever it is that I'm missing, or to actually tell whether I'm telling the truth or not. So you got to hear both sides of the story. So if both of us come to you and give you that information, now you might be able to help out. But still, ultimately, it's out of context. You're not there. You're not in that relationship every day, so you really can't speak on it. You can speak on your experiences and how you got down with whoever you got down with, but it's still not going to work. That being said, the thing about relationship advice too is that, let's say, for example, you a brain surgeon, right? And I know this is probably a horrible analogy, right? I don't know. You know what? Let's do this. I'm a plumber, right? And I've been doing plumbing for 10 years, right? I might be able to go to your house and tell you how to fix your plumbing a lot better than somebody that just came off the street. Right? Am I wrong? Yep. Because I probably repaired maybe 1,000, 2,000 repairs in my lifetime. There you get it? You get it? So the thing about relationship advice is that I might be in a successful relationship that's been, me and my wife been together over 18 years, right? Now, that doesn't make me an expert on relationship. It makes me an expert on her. It makes her an expert on me. So I really can't go around giving you relationship advice because I only been with one successful relationship with her. Boom. Now, let's even consider that, somebody that's 45 years old or something has been in 3 relationships that lasted a long time. Would you take advice from a plumber who's only done 3 repairs? You see my point? So there's no real way you could become a relationship expert if you only been in 3 relationships. And there's no way for you to become a relationship expert because you can't be in 1,000 relationships in 10 years and call yourself an expert. You feel me? There you go. So I hope I explained that. Now, that being said, that does not mean that you should not get couples counseling from a certified psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever. I'm not saying you should. You should get that, right? I'm not saying you shouldn't see a therapist either, and also a couples therapist who's certified by the state or whatever. That I think you should do. And that's cool because you're dealing with other problems that person might be an expertise in, and you're both going together. You see what I'm saying? That's how that works. Now, you think I'm crazy? You think I'm wrong? You think my analogy was stupid? Come at me.
This is a man's world, but it would be nothing without. This is a man's world.
Part 3, UBC, sip lime Bacardi. Heavy on the list, you blink my ice ring. John Green, be that small G.O.D. Part 3, UBC, sip lime Bacardi.
In this segment of how to approach women, there's something that I talked about before, and I actually don't have any experience in it because, by the time I settled down, internet dating, internet dating was a thing, but it wasn't a thing. Like, when I was younger, internet dating was seen as like, oh, you desperate, you know what I mean? So like now it's like a thing to do. But people have asked me, I've gotten some DMs about how do I approach a woman online? Again, I don't have any experience, but my assumption is the same etiquette, the same rules apply, right? Consent, being respectful. I think actually doing it online, you have a chance to see if that person is seeing someone else, because they might be seeing someone else. They might be spoken for. Some of them even say, hey, I'm married. They'll say wife, or boyfriend or girlfriend to so-and-so, and they'll link that person there. So I think that's actually an edge because you kind of can see whether you should shoot your shot. But I think, again, I don't have any experience on it, but I think it's the same way. Like, hey, how you doing? My name is so-and-so. I dig how you look. Just be mad respectful. And if they say they reject you, then they reject you. You know what I mean? But that's how I think it. I think it's just like anywhere else. You shoot your shot and you go from there. Don't be creepy. You know what I mean? Don't. Because I look at people that will follow me and they'll like every picture that I ever posted in the last 84 weeks. I'm not going to lie. That's kind of a little bit. I could see if I only had 4 photos. And one of them is from 2015, but I got thousands of photos. So if somebody does that, I'm going to be weirded out. So, same thing in real life. Don't be a perv. I know a big thing that women tell me is dudes send them dick pics all the time. Like, don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to make them, your joint could be 25 inches long. That's not going to make them like you. They're going to feel very disrespected, actually. Very creepy. So, you know, it's consent. It's all about consent. You wouldn't walk up to a woman in a bar and whip your dick out, even if it's 25 inches long. So I think the same thing applies online. You know, be respectful. Say, hey, how you doing? You know, talk. You know what I mean? And then, you know, let things flow naturally like you do anywhere else. So that would be my advice to you if you try to talk to somebody online. Word. Yo, shout out to the homie Victor Dandridge of You Create Comics. Yo, hire that brother, man. Hire him, man. I'm going to put his information on the show notes, man. Word is born. He's doing his thing thizzle, man, about representation and teaching our young kids how to write and draw comics, man. Word is born. Also, shout out to my man Jared of M6P. I didn't recognize you for a second. Check out that podcast, too, because he had, like, the long hair. He looking like he came straight out of a Jackson Geese comic book, you know what I mean? Did I say Geese right? G-U-I-C-E? So shout out to him. Shout out to everybody at Gem City Comic Con, man. I love y'all. This is like y'all 12th year. We've been going for the last 10 years. This is probably the last year that my youngest goes for free. So I got to actually pay his way next time. But it was dope, man. So if y'all coming back out there, you know what I mean? Do your thing, thizzle. Word is born. Peace. So there you have it, folks. Episode 8 is done. Where my Killa tape at? If you want to continue this discussion, use the hashtag Where my Killa tape at? Killa spelled Killa. You can hit me up on the Twitters at DanTrezOmi and also at Omi's podcast, whichever, you know, floats your boat. And I shall be having some merch on. I keep saying that, but it shall be. I'm going to put in the show notes the links to the emotional labor discussion that I had on medium.com and also the stuff for Puerto Rico Strong. And thanks a lot for listening, party people, and we out.